I was in Seattle. I was there to finish buying my 14th property. That means I was signing papers to own another building. While I was standing there, my phone suddenly lit up. It buzzed in my hand. I looked down. It was a Zillow alert. At first, I thought it was a mistake. Then I read it again. My penthouse was listed for sale. My home. The one I owned. The one I paid for. It was listed by my mother. I stopped moving. I stopped breathing for a second. I read the listing words slowly. The words sounded sweet. They sounded proud. They sounded like a love letter. But my mother had never spoken about me like that in real life. The description said, stunning downtown penthouse. Prime location. Motivated seller. I felt strange reading it. Then I saw the phone number for the listing agent. I knew that number. It belonged to Ondine. She was my mother's friend from her country club. My stomach felt heavy. Then I opened the photos. They were my photos. My living room. My couch. My art on the wall. My view from the windows. My kitchen with the white Italian marble countertops I picked myself. In one picture, I saw something that made my chest feel tight. The corner of my laptop. It was sitting on the dining table. That meant something very important. They had been inside my home. Not a long time ago. Recently. Still, my hands did not shake. I noticed that. 8 years of building my real estate business had changed me. For 8 years, my family said I was bad with money. They said I was careless. They said I didn't know what I was doing. But during those 8 years, I learned one big lesson. Proof is stronger than yelling. Facts are stronger than drama. So I did not scream. I did not cry. I made a phone call. I called my lawyer. His name is Alaric Fenmore. They listed my penthouse, I said calmly. They did it without asking me. They didn't even tell me. I heard his keyboard clicking. I'm looking at it now, he said. It went live 4 hours ago. He paused. There are already 3 showing appointments. Then he stopped talking. I waited. Your mother signed the listing agreement, he said slowly. She signed as if she owns the property. My heart felt cold. She forged my signature, I said. Yes, he replied. We will need to prove that. I'm calling the title company now, he continued. They will catch this as soon as they check the records. I hung up. Then I opened my family group chat. There were 37 messages. My mom had written a long message. She told everyone about the family's new financial freedom. My brother was already counting his money. He wrote that his share would be $575,000. My sister was already looking at yachts online. She was sending pictures. My dad wrote one message. About time that place did something useful. I stared at the screen. That penthouse was my first big purchase. I bought it 7 years ago. It cost $1.4 million. I remember telling my family. My mom said it was a foolish waste. She said a single woman didn't need something like that. My dad said I would lose everything. He said women like me always fail at real estate. My brother laughed. He asked if I was trying to prove something instead of getting married. I bought it anyway. I signed the papers. I took possession on a Friday. That weekend, I stood on the balcony, 17 floors above the ground. I watched the city lights turn on one by one. I was alone. No family cheering. No one clapped. Just me. And the deed. My name was the only name on it. At that time, I believed something that wasn't true. I believed if I succeeded one more time, they would respect me. One more property. One more win. But their story about me never changed. To them, I was just pretending. The truth would have forced them to admit they were wrong. And they did not want that. That penthouse became the start of everything. 6 months later, I bought my second property. It was a small office building. My mom said it was commercial suicide. Then I bought my third property. It was an old historic apartment building. They said repairs would destroy me. I kept going. By the time I reached property 7, they stopped talking. My success became invisible. It was easier for them to ignore it. Now they were trying to sell the very place that started my life's work. My phone buzzed again. Alaric. The title company just called, he said. They ran the ownership check. Your name is the only owner. Not your mother. They flagged the sale as fraud. I took a slow breath. How long until the agent finds out? I asked. Very soon, he said. The listing will be removed within the hour. The brokerage must report this to the state. I imagined my mother when Ondine called her. First confusion. Then anger. Not at herself. At me. There's more, Alaric said. The title company ran a full background check. All 14 of your properties showed up. Total value, $12.8 million. Everything I built quietly. Everything they said didn't exist. The listing agent must tell all parties, Alaric said. Your mother is about to find out how irresponsible you really are. Ondine called 90 minutes later. I didn't answer. I listened to her voicemail 3 times. There's been an issue with the title search, she said nervously. We need to talk immediately. This is urgent. Urgent meant trouble. At 4:47 p.m., the family group chat exploded. Mom, there's been a misunderstanding. Sister, what kind of misunderstanding? Brother, is our money delayed? Dad, she always complicates things. I did not reply. Instead, I opened my laptop. I opened a file called the Ghost Ledger. I started it 2 years ago. My therapist suggested it. It was a list of emotional costs. Property 1. I called Mom to share my success. She said, "That's nice, honey." Then I talked about my sister's haircut. Cost Hope. Property 3. Dad bragged about my brother to his friends. When I spoke, he changed the subject. Cost Self-worth. Every family holiday, I was introduced as the daughter who rents apartments. Cost Identity. Last Thanksgiving, a pipe burst in Property 9. $14,000 in damage. I fixed it while cooking dinner. Dad said real estate might not be for me. Cost Gratitude never given. Milestones missed. Celebrations canceled. Cost Time. The ledger was 32 pages long. I closed it. Alaric called again. The State Real Estate Commission is investigating, he said. What happens now? I asked. They pulled the listing, he said. They will compare signatures. If forgery is proven, criminal charges are coming. I thought about my mother's perfect image. It was cracking. There's something else, Alaric said. Your parents rent one of your apartments. Which one? I asked. Property 7. Unit 4B. They pay $3,200 a month. For 3 years they paid me. While calling my business foolish. They loved the building. They loved the management. They never knew it was mine. I knew. I approved them quietly. I hoped they would respect me one day. Instead, they tried to steal from me. I want full prosecution, I said. The police arrived at my mother's house on Tuesday. Her friend called me crying. There are police cars, she said. I said, it must be a misunderstanding. The charges came that afternoon. Forgery. Fraud. Identity theft. Up to 15 years. My mother's lawyer called. She made a mistake, he said. She broke the law, I replied. She's your mother, he said. She forged my name, I said. That is not a mistake. That is a crime. She posted pictures of my home online. She wanted everyone to see it, even though it wasn't hers to show. She made appointments for people to come visit it, like she was selling it herself. She planned to take the money from selling it, the big money from my home, without telling me anything at all. That is not something that happens by accident. That is not a small mistake. That is something someone plans on purpose. She made a choice to do wrong. She knew it was wrong, but she did it anyway. Our family group chat, which used to be a place to talk about birthdays or funny stories, became a battlefield. Everyone started arguing. Dad said, "You are really going to send your own mother to jail over a misunderstanding?" I said, "This is not a misunderstanding. She broke the law. She committed a crime. This is not a small mistake. This is serious." My brother said, "This is insane. Why are you doing this? Just stop it." And I said, "Would you stop if someone forged your signature on a paper that took $2.3 million from you? Would you just let it go?" My sister said, "Family is supposed to forgive each other." And I said, "Family is supposed to love each other, yes, but family is not supposed to commit crimes against each other. Forgiveness does not mean ignoring someone stealing your life, your home, and your money." The first court meeting was scheduled 3 weeks later. While we waited, the police investigation kept going. They looked at everything very carefully. They discovered that my mom had also created a fake paper called a power of attorney. This paper said she could act for me, as if I gave her permission to do everything. But she never had that permission. She used that fake paper to schedule a meeting with a notary, which is someone who makes legal documents official. This meeting was for the closing of the home, which was going to happen the next month. The police also called a writing expert to study the documents. The report from the expert was very clear and left no doubt. The signatures on the papers were not mine. The handwriting showed that the letters and the way the words were written matched my mother's handwriting. The documents were also made very recently, in the past 14 days. The expert even said that there was a 98.7% chance that the signatures were written by my mom, not me. My mom's lawyer tried to convince the judge to stop the case, saying that there was not enough proof that she meant to do anything wrong. But the judge read the report carefully, looked at the pictures of my home online, and checked the fake power of attorney. Then the judge said, "Motion denied." This meant the case would go forward and go to trial. Then the news found out about the case. First, the story appeared in local news. It said, "Mother charged with forging daughter's signature in $2.3 million real estate fraud." Then bigger news stations started covering it. Then a video went viral on TikTok, where a real estate agent explained everything. The agent said, "This is why you must always check who really owns the house before selling or listing it online." The internet comment section became full of opinions. Some people said I was right, that crime is crime, even if it is your own family. Others were angry at me, saying I was cruel for sending my own mother to prison. I stopped reading the comments after the first 100 because it made no difference to me. I knew what had happened, and I knew I had done the right thing. The trial was scheduled 6 months later. While we waited, a lot of consequences happened in my mom's life. She lost her real estate license for 18 months because she did not check who owned the property before listing it. She also lost her job at the brokerage where she worked. The fancy country club she belonged to quietly asked her to resign from their events committee. Her social life started falling apart. Her bridge club friends stopped inviting her. Charity events no longer wanted her help. Her name disappeared from the donor wall at the community center. People even discovered that most of her donations were for publicity and not actual financial help. Her reputation, which had once seemed untouchable, started crumbling. The family also suffered. My dad had to pay her lawyer $47,000 in just the first 2 months. He had to sell their retirement savings to pay for it. They even missed 2 rent payments on one of my properties. My property manager had no choice but to start eviction proceedings. My brother stopped answering calls when they asked him for a $30,000 loan. My sister blocked them when they suggested she cancel her yacht deposit to help the family. I felt nothing while all of this was happening. Not happiness. Not satisfied. Not guilt. Just the quiet, steady sense of balance finally returning. Like a ledger being balanced after years of people taking advantage of me. Finally, the trial began. It lasted 3 days. The evidence against my mom was overwhelming. There were the forged signatures, the fake power of attorney, and proof of premeditation, which means she planned it ahead of time. My mom testified that she thought the home belonged to the family. But her story did not hold up. The prosecutor showed her the real ownership deed, the paper that proved the home belonged to me. She had seen it 2 years before at dinner in my home, but ignored it. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. Then they came back with their verdict. Guilty on all counts. 2 weeks later was sentencing. My mom was given 3 years in prison, but it was reduced to 18 months with probation. She had to pay $125,000 in restitution to cover my legal fees, the damage caused by the fraud investigation, and additional punishment. She also now has a permanent criminal record. My dad sat in the gallery quietly. My brother and sister did not attend. I sat in the front row and listened carefully as the judge spoke. The judge said, "You betrayed your daughter's trust and tried to steal her property through forgery and fraud. The only reason this is not a longer sentence is because your daughter did not push for maximum punishment." My mom looked at me once. She was not sorry, not apologetic. She was angry, as if I had done something wrong. I looked back at her and felt only relief. A heavy weight lifted from my shoulders. I felt free at last. Now, 14 months later, everything has changed. The penthouse is still mine. Another big property called Property 15 recently closed, and it is a mixed-use building downtown. My portfolio now generates $52,000 in passive income every month. My mom served 13 months in prison and was released early for good behavior. She lives in a 1-bedroom apartment across town. She works part-time at a grocery store to pay restitution. Most jobs are impossible for her to get now because of her criminal record. My dad moved to my brother's basement. Their retirement money is gone. Their country club membership ended. Charity galas continue without them. We do not speak. I have restraining orders against both of my parents, not because I fear them, but because I refuse to let them come into my life and disturb my peace. My brother sent one email. "You destroyed our family over money." I did not respond. My sister tried calling once, crying, saying, "Everyone makes mistakes." I blocked her number. Forging a signature is not a mistake. It is a choice, a conscious decision to do wrong. I refuse to normalize that kind of behavior. I refuse to let it back into my life. Last week, I attended a real estate development gala. The mayor presented me with a Community Impact Award for my affordable housing initiatives. Property 12 is now partially subsidized housing, providing 40 units for working families. People asked me how I built all this. I thought about the invisible years, about the family that tried to use my success as their own, about the ghost ledger of hopes and dreams that had been ignored, and about the 7 years of effort that nobody supported. I built it alone, I said, and that is exactly how I wanted it. The penthouse balcony still has the best view in the city. I sit there some evenings, watching the lights flicker on across downtown. Some of those lights are mine now. 14 properties, hundreds of tenants. A legacy built not from family support, but from family spite transformed into fuel. There is no place for them in my world anymore. My future begins from the 14 fortresses I fought to protect. The account is closed. The balance is zero. And I am finally completely free, finally completely at peace.